Whether it be slinging spells or breaking down the pauper challenges every week in his podcast, Casting Commons, we sit down with TeasdaleMTG to talk about how he got started in creating content, finding his voice, breaking down the meta, seeing if there's any cards in the format that need to maybe be gone, and his positive attitude in the format, all while we shuffle up some decks and sling some spells ourselves in this week's player profile.
Hey guys, welcome back. It is Teasdale here, and we are back with another Pauper League.
So today we're joined by TeasdaleMTG, Andrew Teasdale. What's up? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm definitely a bit warm than I normally am in sunny England.
Yeah, we were just talking before we started this that you guys don't have like any AC. You guys don't like sell like window ACs or anything? Like nothing?
No, not really. Pretty
Ooh.
much everything's pretty hard to come by. So I'm a bit warm.
So, if nobody knows, like, if somebody doesn't know, like, what you do and stuff, you are a co-host with Reese for Casting Commons podcast, and you have your own channel where you run through games and stuff. If you want, talk a little bit about, like, what you do on YouTube and a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, so I make content on YouTube. Basically, it was originally just a generic Magic-related YouTube channel. Like, I tried different things that I could, but I've always really stuck with Pauper, and Pauper basically stuck with me. And then I kind of just focused in on running brews and trying different things. I don't really do like meta decks very often. I wouldn't say I'd say I mainly focus on off the wall kind of strategies and brews and things. But yeah, that's basically the main thing I do here is just no, there we go. I was a bit panicked there. I tapped my mana wrong, but we're all good. But yeah, that's basically what I do. Is I just run through a lot of different Pauper leagues, play Ponza, Mono Black Gardens, Blue White Crab is a few that I've tried in the past. But
so on your Casting Commons show, you guys kind of like analyze the weekly challenges, kind of some of the metagame and stuff like that. How do you see the current Pauper format in terms of like health with brewing?
I think the space in brewing has definitely got smaller, for sure. Like, when I first started playing Pauper, you could pretty much build a deck, and as long as your removal or your game plan sort of had an idea of how to tackle the best decks, like Affinity or Mono Red, for example, you would generally be okay. But now I feel like that window has got smaller and smaller for new decks. Like, you can't just jam, like, for example, you can't just put in 4 Weather the Storms in your green deck and that'll show up the mono red matchup, or you can't put like 4 Dust to Dust in your sideboard for Affinity and that'll fix that. It's definitely a lot smaller than it used to be for brewing in particular. But I do think, unfortunately, even though I'm sat here playing Ponza and I've blew up 2 of your Blacklands kind of thing, like, I think the meta's fairly healthy overall.
You got me on this one.
Yeah, I just thought I'd take a disclaimer. I did queue up the wrong deck. I didn't realize Ponza was what was queued up here.
No, you're good. Like, so when you, like, my background originally with Magic was modern and standard, and I always felt like with those health formats and stuff, when a deck became a problem was when main decks were running hate for that. So like when Grave Troll was running around and we had Dredge and stuff, there was people that were running like main deck Graveyard Hate and stuff like that. Do you think we're getting to that point with like the Mono Red, for an example, where I'm seeing a lot of life gain and stuff being added main deck and stuff, and also like with the Terra decks, people are now running also like main board like Graveyard Hate and stuff. Do you think we're kind of hitting that level, or how do you feel about that?
I think it's more so. For example, like Terra, for example, they've got 3 Fangs in the main, or they're sometimes running, going a bit more Graveyard Hate in the main deck, all that sort of stuff, like squeezing a Bajuka Bog in here and there. But I think those sort of, like, Terra as a whole, you've kind of got the mono red matchup is so bad without Fangs that they have so many flexibility slots that's why they can afford to run that. But if a deck that's, say, I don't know, a deck that's more like got a more of a 50-50 matchup against mono red starts board, main board, and Hydroblasts and blue metal, then yeah, I would kind of agree that it's probably getting too much at that point. But I don't think we're quite there yet. I don't think. Don't quote me if I'm wrong.
You heard it here first. He said
I
So,
think
what?
I was just going to say, I think the thing is, obviously looking at challenges, because we do it on Casting Commons every week. The challenge data and the paper data is very much, it looks very healthy. You know, you've got Ponza and you've got Mono Red at the top at the moment in terms of deck percentage, but their win percentage isn't that high. You've obviously got Golgari Gardens, which makes a not a massive percentage, but still a pretty big percentage, with its win percentage being quite high, and then Affinity and the rest of the things dropping off, but still having good win percentages. So it just kind of, it does seem there's a lot of different options and a lot of different decks to play, but I also think that, why did I just do that? Oh, well. But I also think that what's the best way to describe it? These decks are kind of very varied, and there's loads of different options in challenges. But if you play a lot, like you play in leagues a lot, if you're grinding, 3 to 5 leagues a day or something stupid, I can definitely see and understand why people aren't finding it fun, because the challenge data and the league data just don't match up. If that makes any sense.
I get it. So what makes you think like why people are bringing different decks to the leagues and why people are bringing different decks? Like, why is the meta different between the leagues and the challenges, do you think?
Time is my big one, I would say, is the first one that springs to mind. So more people would bring mono red because it'll take an hour, maybe an hour and a half or something, to basically just go through an entire 5-match league. It won't take very long, and you can double queue, you can go again, you can just fit more leagues or in an overall day than you do otherwise. That's the first thing that would spring to my mind of why. And that's probably why you see exact same with Affinity, even though it's not as quick as Mono Red. It's a grindy deck that can just win out of nowhere. It casts 3 Deadly Disputes, casts 4 Mirror Enforcers, and maybe a Gear Seeker, and then they're like, oh god, I can't win. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I got you on that one, because that's why I think like you don't see like hardly a lot of people play like Altertron or like familiars, like a lot of clicking through familiars.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Tortured Existence. You don't see that pop up a lot. So I kind of get that for sure. So on your casting commons, if someone's like, for me, I want to first off say the show's great.
Thank you.
Someone who's like been kind of itching a little bit for that, because when I first started getting into Magic and playing Magic and stuff, something that I really looked at was I'm trying to think of what I want to do here. What I've really looked at was trying to like get into the competitive scene, and I was like really kind of like diving into enjoying that competitive scene and stuff, and then I felt like it kind of died off, and now like I kind of took a hiatus, come back very casual, but I still like that competitive nature. And so seeing like you guys break down the like kind of the analytics of the meta and like how these decks are running and your guys' prediction stuff has been really fun to listen to. But if someone is like wanting to look at that competitive and stuff, like how do you guys like those numbers? Can you kind of explain like how those numbers work of like seeing the meta and like the win rates and stuff like that?
I can try my best. I'm definitely no analytical, kind of guy, but definitely there is a like Goldfish do it, and the pauper grinders also do it. There's like a meta percentages that the grinders have like a spreadsheet which one of them fills in at the end of a challenge. There's also one on Goldfish, and basically what that is a lot of the Magic Online data of who played what, where, all that sort of stuff, and it gives the win percentage. And what that basically says is it shows how many players played a deck. So that obviously gives you your play rate and your meta percentage, and then your win rate is obviously based on all those players, how many times against certain decks because a lot of them are split up. So, for example, our last week's episode, Callie dived into it that Ponza only had a 4-2, so it won 4, lost 2 overall against Mono Red Burn, and then I think it was like 3-3 for Ponza versus Mono Black Gardens. Where to me, for example, if I was to discuss that, I would think that's quite surprising. So I would say that I would have thought Ponza would have had a better matchup against Gardens than it would Burn, but obviously the data says otherwise in that challenge. Doesn't necessarily mean it's all the time, because obviously that could just be how it plays on the day, things like that. And these, you have to look at how people present the data as well, because there's a lot of ways you can change it so it looks better for you or better in a certain way. But that's why I like the Magic Online grinders Google Doc, and also Goldfish are the two that I use generally, because they're quite unbiased in obviously how they want to present the data.
I was hoping another creature there. So if you were to sleeve up and go, what do you think the best decks in the format currently are? What would you want to sleeve up and take to a big tourney?
I would like to say I actually think Mono Black Gardens is one of the best decks in the format at the moment, which is probably a little biased, just a little, because since is it you Ups Dude won the challenge about 6 months ago with that deck, if not a little bit more.
Yeah.
I have been obsessed with that deck. I liked Mono Black Devotion, but I've just never been able to get its recognition, and I've just been obsessed with that deck since. So the fact that it since I think I might be pronouncing his name wrong, is Jem Truffers, who he top 8 at Pop again with Mono Black Gardens, and then decided to win 3 French Opens with it with the exact same 75. Absolutely just unbeatable. He definitely put that deck on the map and give people enough credit to start and pardon the pun, and taking the initiative with it, and putting in all sorts of different spins on it. Obviously, Visionary, you've got Fungal Infection, you've got little things that people just have been testing with, and it's obviously been doing really well. So that's probably one I would say is one of the best decks in the format. And then obviously Mono Red.
I've only got to play Gardens a little bit, and I loved it. It's it's awesome. How do you?
I'll go on. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, how do you feel if you were wanting to combat some of these meta decks, kind of go on the fringe? How do you think what's the deck you should probably try to combat the most? Is it just Burn, or Mono Blue, or?
I think Mono Blue is always a solid choice generally, because at the moment in particular the format's very developed, so a lot of the cards and a lot of the cards that people play are very low to the ground. You play Deadly Dispute, you play Scred, you play Utopia's Brawl, Wild Growth, Cast Down Chainers. Everything costs 2 or less almost, all of the good cards. So generally that tends to make Spell Stutter a lot better. Being able to ninja a Spell Stutter has a lot more value when the format's kind of like that, even though there is a lot of end of festivities and things like that in the field. So Fae's always a solid choice. And I think Ponza's been obviously great, gained in popularity because of that. If I was to tackle the meta though, actually it's a hard one, to be fair. The way I tend to brew as well, which is probably why it doesn't work so well, is I find an idea and then I kind of try and make that work more than I try and tackle the meta, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I like the interaction between Mirror Shell Crab and Late to Dinner is one that I like. So that was the reason why I built a deck. That's why I tried Blue White Crab and all that sort of thing. So, but yeah, I'd say Fae's probably still a good solid choice. I'd probably go along with like the Spire Goal and Bind the Monsters sort of lists that have been taken off as of late, and I think that's it.
Do you think like uh I mean, I've been starting to follow Pauper for a little while now. Do you think like the meta right now is like open to a nice variety of decks, or do you think it's getting a little stale? Because I hear people on both ends of the fence on that one.
The best way I can describe it without being sound like Switzerland is it's both. It's definitely very stale because I think a lot of the decks at the moment have been they've been around for a long time. So Affinity, Mono Red, all very good decks that have been around for definitely a long time. They've all looked very similar to what they do now. And there is a lot of room to kind of a lot of different variety of decks, but they all are very similar again. Like they're all very much Deadly Dispute engines, or they're doing some sort of nonsense, or they're like some sort of Avenging Hunter deck, if that makes sense, or they're a mix of all of the above. So they do very similar things. So like the difference between Jeskai Ephemerate and Mardu Synth are not too far apart. The difference between Ponza and Gardens aren't too far apart. They're just a ramp initiative deck and all that sort of thing.
Do you think like the initiative, the Monarch and stuff, like do you think they should go, or are they pretty good where they're at?
I think I'd prefer it if the initiative wasn't there, personally. Just because I don't, and I guess similar to the Monarch, just I think I'm dead here. I think like you don't, the game just goes all about those effects as soon as they're in play, regardless if it's you're favored, you're behind, or whatever. The game generally is all about the initiative, all about the Monarch. As soon as one of them hits play, so I'd kind of prefer that not to be the case generally.
I get that. What are your predictions on the ring then? The ring tempting. How do you think that's going to run?
I think it's going to be better in terms of it's going to be better than what people probably give credit for. But I also think it's going to be obviously infinitely worse than the initiative and the Monarch, because it seems like it's designed for 2-player games, where obviously the initiative and the Monarch weren't. And I think that's probably the key difference. I think it's going to be probably fine and probably see some place somewhere is probably where I'd put that. But I think overall it's definitely going to be a lot worse than we give credit for.
Right on. Now, I want to jump to the hard-hitting question here that you may not be expecting, but who's the puppy on your logo, the puppy dog?
Oh, I was so that is my dog. I was yeah. So that's my dog. She's called Luna. She's a sharp hair, and yeah, she's literally. I'm the standard. We are the standard family of 2 of us and 1 dog. So she's the little baby in the house.
Yeah, that's my profile, is my puppy Lemmy, black lab. It's the same thing. It's me and my wife, and then the baby. Well, we also have a pet rat that's kind of the baby too, but
yeah. So she's the logo for everything. The face for absolutely everything for me. As you can tell.
Yeah, I get that. I've used my dog for the logo a lot too. And you know what's the best part about that is they don't get a say in it.
No.
They just get an extra biscuit every once in a while.
Yeah, the logo came from I recommend everyone check her out. It's Electric Elves design. You can see the playmat behind us. So that there right where my finger is Luna. So she drew Luna and my my best man and my groomsman. So this is Reese, and then this is my other friend here, and designed us all the playmat for our wedding, for mine and my wife's wedding, and that's where the face of Luna came from.
Awesome. So you and Reese are friends in real life then, IRL then?
Yeah. So I've basically backstory, I guess. So I decided to create the YouTube channel not for normal reasons. I proposed to my now wife, and I was basically a nervous wreck. I couldn't say a word to anyone. I was so nervous in like public speaking that I decided, to me, the best way is if I do something I love and enjoy, i.e., Magic/Pauper content. Then I'll basically grow confidence because I'm speaking to obviously people. I didn't expect to be where I am now, but I didn't expect to be anywhere close to as popular as I am now. I expected about 5 people to watch and it to be content, but in my head that I was showing it out to the world, and that was literally the purpose of the channel, was to just grow my confidence. And then Reese obviously was big one for pushing me to do this channel generally. And I wanted to start growing, doing different things. So obviously I started writing for Cards Realms as well, writing articles. And I wanted to do a podcast. And Reese offered to obviously be my co-host. And that's how that started. So just being a supportive friend, as you can't ask for more, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So then I guess we'll backtrack a little bit here too. When and how did you get started into Magic the Gathering?
School generally. So in school, I live in the northwest of England, so out in the sticks. Literally, I'd be amazed if I had dial-up internet for God knows how long it took forever to get, fiber and things like that. So I used to play Magic Online once I started getting into Magic, and my mother's phone used to ring, and the internet used to go down all the time, and all that sort of stuff. So I got into it at school. Basically, there was just about 5 of us, and then the other school further into the town, had a teacher that absolutely adored Magic, and we kind of went there to play. And that was basically it. From there, we went to the local game store, which was above a bookshop, and that's kind of how we got into it.
Right
But I
on.
got into it, and my friend here got into it at the same time.
About what time period would have been?
So I started getting into it I went down to the local game store on Morningtide. I want to say pre-release, but it could have been release. And then kind of went there. I think we played the release, and then kind of just played at school. Didn't really go to the game store, and then we came back properly. Rise of Eldrazi was the big one, where I probably started to play. Shortly after that, built Valakut, I think, was like the deck I wanted to play in standard and all that sort of stuff.
So how did you find Pauper? What made you kind of dive into this realm?
I started playing Magic Online because I just got the bug for playing Magic, and I found out that you can play Magic. If you play Magic Online, you play all the time.
That's a crazy cascade.
Yeah, so that was basically, I came out of Magic Online, and originally it was, I want to play the cheapest, most accessible format. I was still at school, I had a paper round, and that was kind of how I afforded my cards on Magic Online. And then that got into, I went into Pauper, and then I went into Standard, like Innistrad Standard, I think that was at that point, with like Huntsmaster of the Fells and Olivia Voldaren. And then I kind of focused solely on Pauper after that, really. Started playing, my first deck was like an old school Tron, like Monster Tron, with like Fangren Marauders and Muldrifters, and just Tronning into big things.
Gotcha. Just Troning around the world.
And that was kind of how it stuck.
What would that cost less?
Yeah, your bone picker cost 1. Oh, it was an angler. Damn.
But but yeah, as opposed to like, what other formats have you like really dove into then with Magic?
Over the years, I've dove into, I want to say pretty much every format. So I used to be big into Modern when Birth and Pod was around. Birth and Pod was one of my favourite cards of all time. So I played that. I play Legacy quite a bit just locally whenever I'm there. I used to be big into it when I played Death and Taxes mainly in Legacy. I'm a big Yorion Death and Taxes player. and 2, 3, 4, 5.
The triple avenging on your hand.
Yeah, there's
Oof.
another one in my hand as well, just to let you know.
Yeah, I think you got this one.
um,
Speed running the dungeons.
so I haven't really played Vintage. It's probably like one of the only format I haven't really played.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've played Standard a little bit. Played quite a bit on Magic Online generally. Played a bit in the local game stores, and then after that, it's just been Modern and Legacy. Occasionally playing. Used to go to like qualifiers and things round England.
So like and like the paper tournaments and stuff. What are some of the bigger like tournaments and stuff you've been to then? Like
So
and how well did you
I don't
do?
know. Well, the biggest I've been to was GP Bologna. Was one of the biggest we went to, and I did terrible. Well, it was Eldrazi Winter, I think it was, and I played Eldrazi. I think I played Ban Eldrazi or whatever it was, and I got absolutely decimated. Every single person seemed to be prepared for me, and I was just not experienced in that deck at all. Like I didn't know what to play, so I just picked. I thought, oh, I'll pick the best deck.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously got rewarded um for my deck knowledge because I just didn't know anything about the fort. I kind of lost interest after the whole Twin and Birth and Pod kind of meta dissipated.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest, and then after that, just a few qualifiers here and there. So like
Nope.
I think we were like GPTs or PTQs and things like that, just like around the country.
Gotcha. I guess I'm playing the same deck because I didn't swap it over. My bad.
Do you want to change deck?
Yeah. Let me swap out decks here. Sometimes like with Magic Online, for some reason, like when I'm doing these interviews, I go over on the collection page and I'm like, okay, I'll do this, and then I forget to change it over on the little
Over in the constructed tab,
yeah, on the constructed tab. All right, I got it up. Um, talk about like getting into Magic and stuff. Like, what about Pauper do you think sets it aside from other formats?
It's cheap is obviously a good one. Its barrier for entry is really low.
Mm-hmm.
Is one that I particularly like, and I think it's there's very it's less true now, but it's still fairly true. There is less non-games generally, so there's a lot of I felt like in Standard and in Modern, Pioneer, Legacy, there's a lot of non-games. You play against someone, you mulligan to oblivion, you're absolutely out. The cards are so powerful
Mm-hmm.
that you're just not getting there. And what do I want to do here? Guess. But I think so. There's few non-games happening, and there's from that you basically get a lot more interaction, even if you're mulligan or what have you. So, oh damn. So that I kind of like the way Pauper is in general. It's very much you get to play whatever you want. There's a deck for. I'll be amazed if there is not a deck for everyone.
That is, yeah, that's true. There's a lot of stuff running around in Pauper. Do you think Pauper is a pretty good format to like try to get people into the game?
Yes, overall, I would say yes, definitely. Because the barrier of entry is so low. There is certain decks that have, for new players in particular, that have can have quite confusing rules
Mm-hmm.
for certain, like obviously for newer players. So I can understand why some people don't agree with that for sure. But I think overall, yes. I think once you've like experienced a few games of different decks, and yeah, once you've got the basic grasp of any rule, yeah, I would say yeah, is what I would say. This is a cool. What's the wretched? Bro, is this the deck you were recording the other day?
Mm-hmm. The mono blue
The
sack.
yeah.
Yeah. So something I've been doing is I've had viewers submit decks to me to like run through and stuff, and I have like a
All right.
litany, like a laundry list that I'm super excited to get to. But yeah, this is one we were like together. Like one thing I like to do is like try to together as like a community try to build these decks and stuff
Uh-huh.
and to mess with them. And this is one of them that has really kind of landed a bug in me a little bit. I don't know. There's something
Yeah,
about it I really like.
the title definitely sprung me to watch quite a lot of it. To be fair, I was
Right on.
making tea the other night. Definitely checked it out. I was thinking that is a cool idea. I was thinking mono blue sack. What's the payoffs for this? And then I seen it. I was like, wow, that's. I didn't even know the counter spells a thing. The one mana counter spell.
Abjure, yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Abjure was
that's.
awesome. Like that was such a sweet like
Mm,
little interaction that I never knew about. Because like, you get all these other people who have much more of an in-depth card knowledge and stuff, and you find stuff that's like, wow, this is really
yeah.
wicked. Like this is really really sweet. So it's been super fun to play this stuff. Um, play you. Yeah, so this has been one that it's been a little bit of a got a little bit of a bug in me that I've just really have liked so
Mm-hmm.
far.
Yeah, it's definitely a sweet one.
Um, so excuse me. Someone who's been playing for a long time. This is something like I just thought of that I really should have asked, like especially like Propaganda, who's been playing pretty much since the inception. Like
Yeah.
when you play something for this long and you're kind of invested in this community for this long, like how do you fight or deal with like burnout, especially if you're someone who's like leaning into like one format, one niche of this game in particular? Like how do you like combat like burnout?
I feel like it's quite a good question to be fair, because when I got married,
Mm-hmm.
I was obviously I know it sounds really strange. I was just constantly trying to push out content. I was doing about 3 to 4 times a week,
Mm-hmm.
just pushing out different videos. And I just felt once I got up to the wedding and after the wedding, I went on my honeymoon. I was like, oh, I need this break because I'm just completely and utterly burnt out. I think I ended up taking like a month off. But then after that, I just haven't got burnt out at all. And I think it's completely just moderation. So I try and upload, I think, twice a week. So I do Wednesdays is casting commons, or if that's not happening, then I do another video,
Mm-hmm.
and then Fridays like just another video, Pauper League, a review of Pauper tier list or whatever type of video I do. And I think it's basically just complete utter moderation, and because especially in a format with leagues like we have on Magic Online, you get burnt out quite a lot, especially when 3 of those leagues will be the same deck or the same people.
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely understand burnout, and I think it's definitely something that needs to be definitely needs to be respected.
Yeah, so like
Mm,
do you ever get like just burnout though of like playing? Like is there ever been like just a burnout of like playing the game?
yeah, uh, I got burnt out quite a lot when I started just going. Our club is basically our local game stores like 3 times a week
Mm-hmm.
at the moment. And there was a point where I was going to pretty much every day. It used to be like 4. It used to be every like one on a weekend, 2 or 3 during the week. No, I didn't attack there with the elves.
That's what I
Oops.
was kind of wondering. I figured you just click through it.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, I got burnt out with Magic as a whole. And Pauper was definitely one for bringing me back into it for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Because I got absolutely so burnt out. I couldn't really face any other format, to be honest. It was just so hard, especially with how many formats and how many sets Magic Wizards were printing. I just got so tired of trying to keep up with every format and all that sort of stuff that I eventually just give up.
Do you think they're like
So
overprinting?
I think the last 2 years it felt like they were, but I feel like I don't know if it just feels like they're printing less than the last 2 years now. I don't know if that is the case, but because I think it feels like there's a lot of supplementary products which you can actually just ignore
Mm-hmm.
at the moment is how I feel when I like looking in. I try not to keep too much attention. If it's not a common, I'm just generally not interested at the
Yeah.
moment.
I kind of feel that. Um, so with like content creation and stuff, you're saying you're trying to do like 2 times a week and stuff like that, but you're also writing the articles and stuff. Um,
Hmm.
how do you like manage like real life and content creation and stuff? Like how do you like kind of manage the two?
Um, with an angry wife most of the time is generally how it goes. Um, yeah, so I try to write a lot of the time. For work, there's a lot of public transport to work, so like you go to a car park and then you
Hmm.
generally just drive on or all that sort of stuff. So a lot of my writing time comes from while I'm on a bus or that sort of thing. If that doesn't happen, then generally I try to fit it in around. Luckily, I think as well, my wife works quite long hours, so then when she gets home, I've managed to record my videos generally and do what I need to do. So I try my best to make sure I'm finished. So then obviously we can, you don't want content and other things to impede on obviously like your family life and things like that. That is for sure.
So that's kind of cool. You're trying to, because I kind of do the same thing a little bit, where you're trying to like work in like you have your commute. I don't really have like a public commute like that, but like you're finding like little times where you can be like, all right, I can get this done.
Hmm.
Kind of move on. That's pretty cool. Um,
Even if it's just preparing a video or like thinking of a new deck or whatever that I want to play or all that sort of stuff. It's all
mhm.
just trying to, even if I get 20 minutes spare here or half an hour spare there, it's just see if I can fit in writing a deck, write the top five for the new set or whatever.
Starting to think I need some cycle lands in this deck. um,
um,
pass here.
I think tapped out, eh? Tapped out.
So we've talked about the Black Gardens of really enjoying the deck. Like, how do you feel like how much bleh, how much like success have you had running the deck?
Um, no 5 O's as of yet, but generally it seems to be a very consistent 4-1-3-2 deck. I don't think I've ever went less than a 3-2 with it. Like even before it was a deck that it like the deck it is now,
Mm-hmm.
where every man and the dog seems to be running it. It's definitely a solid deck all round. To be honest.
Let's say it's I've got the Golgari tattooed on my arm. It's it's a color combo I've loved for a long time for sure. Poor wretched throng. Yeah, that's the last one too.
That's the last one, isn't it?
Yeah, the wretched throng has been super sweet. Like I've been surprised like how pretty solid that card is. Um, what is this for 6? Oh, Chainer's Egg too. Um, so when you're like looking at these like challenges and stuff like that, how often are you seeing like the same like usernames and stuff pop up? They're pretty often.
Very, very often, yeah. Especially in terms of specific grinders.
Mm-hmm.
Weber being against is a big one that we see a lot, and it's great. But to be fair to me, I do also look out for a couple of names as well. You start to notice certain decks have certain
Certain
people that
pilots.
seem to pick it up. Yeah, like GN42, another big grinder who's he just needs to give someone else a go. To be honest, he just seems to be constantly top eighting with FAMs or anything really. He like took a week off FAMs and decided to play. I think it was like Kuldotha Burn, like with the new version with Burn and Tree in.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen that pop up, and again, just like top 16 with that just casually. Yeah, yeah.
How
Two
much?
hands.
Because this is obviously a game of variance. Like, how much though do you think that variance? Like, what do you think that like breakline is like as opposed to skill and variance? Because obviously the variance plays a big role. Anybody can beat anybody because of variance.
Mhm.
Um,
Uh,
bummer. But yeah, like, what do you think? Where do you think that the line is of like the variance and skill? Because obviously you have these pro players or pro players for a reason.
hmm I think there's. I think Pauper has. I want to say it's a weird one because I think Pauper had less variance. I'd say
Mm-hmm.
previously. I think it's got a lot more variance now due to how good Mono Red is. I feel like that's very. I don't know, but I feel like Mono Red and the powerful draws since like Modern Horizons and Modern Horizons 2 provides less variance, I would say. No, more variance. Sorry, more variance now because obviously certain cards can just steal a game more than they used to be able to.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. But I think it does provide a big role at the moment. You know, like if you're playing a deck that's I don't know 35-40% favored against mono red and but like it's 50 to 55 if they don't have turn one Swift Spear because the clock's just significantly less. Like that sort of variance there plays a huge toll on it.
Yeah, I'm dead here,
2, 2, 4.
but I'm curious to what I draw. All right, yeah,
Yeah, this
I'm
deck
dead.
seems sweet. It's definitely a cool one, to be fair. I like the idea of like a sacrifice engine in blue.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun for sure to play. I've kind of got to this point where now I'm kind of getting like I've gotten like the so when we first played it, it's like you could like hold down the board, but we had no closers. Now we have our
Mm-hmm.
closers. Now I'm like it's like the third game in a row where I've just like drawn like 5 lands in a row kind of thing. Where it's like, all right, so now we need to figure out our lands. We need to maybe get some cyclers or something in here. Um, what do I want for this matchup?
This house is definitely not designed to be cold. Oh, it's woo.
Getting warm?
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, that's I didn't. I mean, I'm an American, so we don't know anything about anybody else's country. Really, we rarely know what's about our own country. But yeah, I didn't know you guys didn't have AC. When you told me that, I was just like, I can't even fathom that. Like that's weird.
Yeah, well, over the past few years, it's probably started to pick up, but like the heat wise in summer. But generally, it's really cold in winter. So
Mm-hmm.
houses are generally built to keep the warmth in, keep the cold outside.
I'll just try this. So, if someone was coming into Magic and was wanting to just join it or whatever, just get into Magic, like what would be how would you recommend somebody getting into Magic?
Um, if I was to recommend someone, first of all, I would obviously recommend them come check out my YouTube channel, clearly, because I have great pauper content. Shameless plug there.
There you
But
go.
no, I would say the best way probably is, to be fair, casually. I would say something like Pioneer seems like an okay format. From outside looking in, I don't play Pioneer. I've never really touched Pioneer either, but it looks like it's very much old style extended,
Mm-hmm.
where you can kind of play what you want. You can play some sort of strategy, and it seems okay. So I'd probably and it kind of the big thing about Pauper, which is one thing why I don't recommend it to everyone, is um when people open packs and all that sort of thing, like you get to a new set and you get new players and they come in and they buy new packs and they're like, oh my god, look at this shiny Chandra.
Mm-hmm.
You can't if you then advise them to come play Pauper and they're like, oh, I want to play my new shiny Chandra, and they can't do that because it makes them feel like the cards that they've just bought are worthless. So as a 60 card format, I'll probably say Pioneer because you get to use those cards and it's not as complicated as Modern and it's not as and it seems like it has a lot of easier rules to understand from outside looking in, to me anyways.
Say
Um,
Pioneer's been one that I've been wanting to check out. Like it seems like a cool format. Like I've been wanting to check it out. And Magic also makes those like Pioneer Challenger decks that's actually got some pretty good juice in them. Like
yeah,
they're nothing like crazy or anything, but like there's some pretty cool stuff in there for sure.
for sure. So that's probably what I would recommend. And then once they've figured out how the game works, I would then, to me, biasly, I'd just tell them to go play Pauper because generally it's fairly balanced. It's healthy at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't think there's really a downside to Pauper. Like, don't get me wrong, you don't get to play your rares or your, but to me that's also a good thing. Some of the rares are just obviously bonkers, and you just get to casually just play your game. And as I say, most games end up happening. I also think Commander is also a great thing for like local game stores.
Mm-hmm.
So but they're also kind of like a blessing. They're really good to keep game stores open, but you also a lot of game stores I've noticed struggle playing constructed formats now because everybody loves Commander that much.
Yeah, we had 3 local game stores. 2 of them went under, so now we only have 1 left, and that's like the only thing they do is Commander.
Mm.
It's not my thing. I'm not a big fan of Commander personally, but
Yeah, so
yeah, that's like the only thing that fires off now is Commander. Uh, there's a bookstore that started trying to fire off Pioneer, but I don't know how well it's ran or anything. So
yeah, we do quite a lot of different formats every Friday and Saturday, I think, at our local game store because we just have the one. We just being like a
hmm
smallish kind of town. But we have a guy in Leeds called pauper Dan on Twitter, which I really highly recommend you follow him. You may have seen over the weekend he had a 51 player pauper event, like Northern Leeds Open, I think it was called, and it was he's definitely doing wonders for English or the UK, I guess, for UK pauper. He's just constantly growing. So that they're the kind of events that I try to go to because the things that sort of community is building is fantastic and something I definitely would like to promote.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
So
Draw some cards here. Oh, it's like Dash Hopes. um,
Crab or clue?
yeah, I think I'll keep the crab for a little bit here. um, Jeez, I saw too on YouTube. You had a channel for Marvel Snap for a
Yes.
little bit. How was that? And like, are you still playing it?
Um, I was until recently. I haven't picked up Snap for quite a while, to be honest. Probably about 2 months now. I've missed the last 2 battle passes. I kind of still follow it, but yeah, I haven't really picked it up for quite a while now. I do still like the game. I just think it's I don't know. I just certain decisions that they've made. I'm not really too happy with.
Mm-hmm.
I would say so. Like the game is super fun when the actual gameplay is really fun. It's just the acquisition model they call it is kind of it's a bit temperamental.
I'll say I've never played it. Not really paid like much attention, I guess, to it.
Uh,
But
it's it is a great game. It really the gameplay side of things is actually really good because you take the 6 turns overall and you take the turns simultaneously.
mm-hmm.
So you basically have to guess. There's 3 lanes. You have to win 2 out of the 3 lanes, and you both play simultaneously. So you kind of have to guess where your opponent's going to play at the same time and all that sort of stuff. And you get 1 energy each turn, so you can cast a 1 drop on 1, 2 drop on 2, all that sort of stuff. So it is interesting in that sense, but the like how you get cards is really strange. So you go up a collector level, and there's basically R and G if you're gonna get the card or not. So you
Mm-hmm.
can get to and there's like a window of a pool, so you get these cards between this level and this level. But you could get one card. So if I played it, I could get one card at level 10, and you could get that same card at level 300. So it's like really awkward in how it works that way. So it's very strange. Oh no!
Got the Abjure.
Oh shit!
I probably should have done the Wretched Throng rather than the redraw with Matt Cantor's Watcher, but yeah, have you played any other TCGs?
I'd say quite a few. I've played Hearthstone. I've played Hearthstone quite a bit. I've played Legends of Runeterra casually as well. I played Artifact for its sins as well. That card game just wow. I played that in beta, and then all of a sudden it just got released and just went whee.
Let's say the only other one that I've really played was Yu-Gi-Oh. That was the only one I ever really dived kind of deep into. What do you think makes Magic kind of set apart from those other ones, and like, what about Magic's kind of kept you here for so long as opposed to these other games?
I think it's the versatility is the thing that sticks with me. So obviously you can build your deck, and there's so many different formats, there's so many different ways to play the game, and all that sort of stuff that it just kind of it grips you. You see this interaction, you're like, I want to make this work, even if it's in a 5-color pile that'll never work ever, but it just holds onto you.
Right.
So okay, I guess we're going.
Do you think the game though is like more balanced than some of the other games? Because like for me, like I feel like there's like the game itself feels more. I guess maybe coming off of Yu-Gi-Oh in particular, but it feels like it's a little bit more balanced than like what Yu-Gi-Oh was.
I can understand that, like why you could think, like why people think that and all that sort of stuff, because I do think it's more balanced than the likes of Yu-Gi-Oh and I don't really know other card games. Like Hearthstone has balancing issues quite a lot. So like I can understand why these things have balancing issues. I understand that Magic have as a game generally is fairly balanced. So oh damn. The 4/4s.
Trying to. Come on, no snuff out.
But yeah, I think as a whole it is definitely more balanced than a lot of games, like generally. But obviously it has issues, and I think even though people who are playing the game don't think the balance like the ban cards or balance it quickly, I do think they do it a lot quicker than others. So basically, yeah, my long answer is yeah, I do think it is more balanced than a lot of other card games. No,
the spell bomb.
Oh.
It's gonna make a top deck terror a lot worse.
Where do I want to go with this?
That's the thing I like about Gardens is it just feels like there's just constant gas. It's like there's so much removal, there's so much pressure. It's just like, man, it's just such a tight strung deck. It's awesome.
Yeah, I like it, and I like obviously there's no set list either. Like if you pick up fairies, I can imagine. Like if I was to build fairies and you were to build fairies at the moment, I would say we're 2 cards different. Like do you run Bryn Barrow or Spire Golem, or do you run Snap and Bind the monsters? Is basically the difference, where you can be a whole total different list from one Gardens player to the next. So I definitely. Oh, I didn't even realize I was on 5.
I still feel like you're avenging Hunter away from being okay, though. So, I'm a little curious where you write the articles and stuff. Like, how do you find the material to write about, and what do you kind of write about?
So generally at the moment I've wrote about just deck techs. So
Mm-hmm.
Gardens was the first one. I just felt like it would be wrong to. My personal opinion is that it felt wrong to go into like disagreeing with cards realm to start writing for them and then not write about like the deck that I love the most in Pauper. So that was the first one, and then after that, I felt it was best to do a brew, a deck that I've been working on for quite a while, which was then I wrote about Rug Gardens. It's a deck that I've kind of been messing about with.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I've kind of just went into all sorts really. I do other deck techs, so I did Poison Storm recently, but I also wrote a card highlight for one of the new cards out of Lord of the Rings. I did the Cast into the Fire, the Exile and Artifact, and 1 damage split. So,
I'll say, yeah, with the Lord of the Rings coming out, what do you think some of the big cards are going to be from that set?
I think Cast into the Fire is probably one of the biggest one. To be fair, um, it just it instantly goes into so many decks. Is the best way I can describe it because it basically like replaces Shatter and Blow, or it replaces Smash to Dust in a lot of scenarios. It replaces the Glamour to an extent as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it just basically replaces so many cards that it's like it's obviously going to be an auto include. Um, After that, I think is it Lembas? Is that the card? The golden egg that kind of scries and draws one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably one of the big cards. Um,
I
what
never thought
else? I
about deadly
think
disputing the Guild Sworn for just to draw 3.
it's also pretty good against terror as well, like blue black terror in general. Guild
Mm-hmm.
Swan's like really
Guild,
impressed me, to be fair.
I'll say, yeah, the little bit I've gotten to play with Guild Sworn so far, I'm like, this card's pretty sweet. The only
Yeah, to,
I don't think the mono black build I've ran, I mean the Black Gardens build I've ran had Guild Sworn before,
mm,
but I played it in this rat tribal deck that was
mhm.
really cool. So
um, Give me more cards. No, give me more cards. Okay, nothing I can take there. Uh, one.
I think this will be the last one to grab from the deck. Oh nope, that was the last one. Okay. Sometimes it's hard to like
Oh,
figure out how many there is.
to one we go. But yeah, I think yeah, I've been impressed with Guild Swan. What else? Oh, what else was there was one that I noticed. I don't know if you've seen Stompy. He is a Portuguese player, and he has some great takes on like analysis of cards. The Have you seen the? Is it Lorien? I think it's called. It's a 5 mana draw 3 sorcery. I think it is, and it has island cycling. That's
Oh,
from the
and
new set.
from the Lord of the Rings set. No, I've
Yeah.
not gone through the set yet. The only one I've really seen that's piqued my interest is the 1 drop super menace 6/5 swamp cycle dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know which one you mean. Which seems it can't be blocked by like three
Yeah, it's
creatures
gotta be
or whatever.
blocked by
Yeah.
3 or more. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been running Gloomfang Mauler from Mom, and like
Uh huh.
Gloomfang Mauler has been actually really solid for both mono black control and Torex.
Uh huh.
So I think this would just be kind of a better version of that. So I'm kind of really looking forward to it. No, the hard cast snuff out.
5, 6, and 7. We're on one.
Bummer.
Do 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 do.
I'll
Did you
say
draw a spell?
there's no.
Did you draw a spell?
Nope. Double land. Yeah, I think there needs to be a cycle or a scry land in this deck for sure.
Uh, but yeah, there is a few options. Like it's quite refreshing that nothing seems too broken initially.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite nice. But it does seem that there's a lot of options that just obviously add to the gameplay. I don't know what I haven't checked is what's it like in coming to Magic Online. Like,
Mm-hmm.
does it come relatively quickly? And because that is a problem, obviously, Baldur's Gate made it so there was a lot of cards that were really good for Pauper. Obviously, you got Basilisk Gate, you had all the initiative cards, um, and it just took forever to come to Magic Online.
Yeah, how come
But
you don't
hopefully
think
that's what it does.
like so with the last unset, Infect got a big paper card of Embiggen. Why don't you think we have that on Magic Online?
Um, I think it's just obviously the say it's programming, I believe, because the Warhammer stuff isn't on it either.
Mm-hmm.
For like Legacy, there's a couple of options, I guess, for there. I don't know why. I just think they need to kind of make sure they're in line with each other because having two completely different formats just isn't good. Like look what you've got with Explorer and Pioneer. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're supposed to be the same, but they're like nowhere close. Whoo! Take that draw. We take those. Oh, making a 4-4? Oh,
No.
seventh man.
I
You
wish. I wish.
sure you didn't want to bounce the Avenger Hunter?
I honestly thought about it and I was like, nah, I feel like that's probably not the best idea. You probably got this one. I think I'm. Oh yeah, yeah. You definitely got this one. Yeah, I like this deck a
Yeah,
lot though. I'm still working with it. But I'm a pretty big fan of it. If you have that wretched throng in the Abjure, like that can be
mm.
pretty
It
awesome,
seems
like synergy.
it seems like it's got nice interactions. Like that's what I mean. I like the Abjured. Seems definitely something to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
All right. Well, I want to see what I draw first, but it'll probably be a land. But I want to see. Oh no.
went from no Avenging Hunters to triple Avenging Hunter in the space of 2 turns.
All right, you got that one for sure. Ooh, triple avenging hunter. What am I gonna run next? Okay, I think I know what I'm running next.
Oof.
I wish I would have like more decks, like deck boxes to pick from on here. Some
Yeah,
cooler designs.
I need to organize my decks. It gets so annoying sometimes that I just open Magic Online. All right, delete, 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 delete,
Yeah,
delete, delete.
that's what. Yeah, I've got like a laundry list where I'm
Mm.
trying to keep up with the viewer submissions and like trying them out and stuff. So I got to dig a little bit sometimes, but I'll keep this.
This, this.
This is another pet deck that I've been working with for quite a while now. Um,
Hey,
the
we got a
Mulligan of
serviceable
4.
hand.
Is it
Um,
all 3 Tron pieces?
I guess we bottom this. I guess sure.
How do you feel
Seems
about
fine.
that Monster Tron deck? Because that's actually like a deck that I've been wanting to try out for a little while. The like mono green big critters.
I like it, and it's nice to see that there's other type of Tron decks. I really like Monster Tron. It's like my kind of way of building Tron. I don't really like Flickertron. I don't really like Ultratron,
Same.
and
I mean,
it just looks
Ultratron's kind of
great.
cool, but the Flickertron I'm not a fan of at all. I'm not a big fan of like the flickery decks
Mm.
to begin with. One of my most tilting cards is probably Ephemerate because it's like
Yeah.
I play so many like destroy target spells that it's like quit blinking my spells. Is there any
I guess
like certain ways you deal with? Is there any certain ways like you deal with like tilts and salt? Like what do you think a healthy way to deal with the tilt and salt is?
um, get it out the way very very quickly. Don't let it build up. Don't.
Yeah,
I'm not really obviously one for um like obviously you shouldn't be salty on chat or anything like that. I'm not really for that, but definitely, however you need to deal with it, as long as it's not affecting someone else, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely get out the system. I played quite a few video games over the time. Like I still play Fortnite and things like that. So definitely used to dealing with dying on that, or losing in Magic Online in certain ways. I try not to let it get to me nowadays. To be fair, I feel like I've mellowed out as I've got older. So is this Esper or is it Black White?
It's Esper.
Because I really like these two cards together. When I first seen this in Magic Machines, they're just as are. That was a really sweet one.
Yeah, I've really have liked this list a lot. It's one of them that I think is actually like getting better as we keep trimming and trying new things.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been really a big fan of this one. Been trying it out, and hopefully we can get there. We've kind of moved it from more of like a aggro deck to more of a combo deck now,
Okay.
and I think that's helped it out a lot.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. But yeah. So I just try not to get tilted too much. I don't generally um like I try to minimize how many games I play a week, and they don't the from one game to the next doesn't like
Mm-hmm.
matter too much. So is the best way of looking at it. But obviously, there's certain people or players out there, and every game matters. You know what I mean? They need to 3-2 that league, otherwise they have to pay money to get to the next league or what have
Mm-hmm.
you, and all that sort of stuff. So I can understand why it happens. And I think I'm gonna die. I have no weather. GG. The multi-4 was no good.
Yeah, no, Mold Forward's never a great sign. Um, Although I don't think I have any sideboard for this deck whatsoever. Oh, maybe I got some things. This poison deck, I love it. I've been wanting to run it. I built it finally, but I've yet to find a chance to run it. But it just seems so cool. Like it really does. It seems really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun to play. It's not as exciting to play in paper. I managed to play that in paper at the our local game store, and so many dice. You just every time you cast a spell, got to move all 10 dice up one. But
Yeah.
it's definitely one that gets benefit from playing on Magic Online for sure, and it's definitely loads of fun. I
Hmm.
really enjoy it.
It's so weird because like when I came over to Magic Online, I was really surprised by like how this is probably not a very good hand, but I'm gonna keep it. It's really surprising to me like how much like decks play differently than in paper. Like Tortured Existence in paper is so simple and smooth,
Mhm.
where like you play it in Magic Online, it's click 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 click, and then you have
Yeah,
like you said the poison counter deck would be so simple to play online, but then on paper you've got all the dice to
yeah.
fiddle with, and it's really strange. But do you feel this way where like Magic Online is kind of a great tool to learn how to like properly like see the stack and how to properly like rules interact with each other? That kind of
Yeah,
automation kind of helps you learn the game
yeah,
better.
yeah, for sure. So I've So one big one is one interaction, like for example, is the Goblin combo deck or Mogwarts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, there's like interactions that you can do where when the Putrid Goblin comes back, it's got a -1/-1 counter on it, and then it has a trigger for the first day class to get another counter to
Mm-hmm.
then cancel each other out. And at that point, you can obviously, so for example, this deck, you can cast Experimental Augury to kill the Putrid Goblin before the first day class resolves, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also like you have a window to suffocate and fumes and all that sort of thing. So like these sort of rules, like I know the rules of the game, but it's like they don't show as immediately obvious unless I've played them on Magic Online. If that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, I got you.
But it definitely it's also a double-edged sword because I mainly play on Magic Online. I play probably twice a month or something, if that,
Mm-hmm.
in like paper, and I've found myself struggling in paper as well. So I can't see my deck as a whole when I'm sideboarding, if you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
I can't see like my outs or check my. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
really it's a lot harder for me. You get very lazy on Magic Online. I've found. Well, I do anyways. That is
Right
for
on.
sure.
Do you think though, like Magic Online too, being able to play against, you could be paired against Satan Raken or Weber, or if you're playing other formats, all these other like top tier
yeah,
players and stuff. Do you think playing against them on a more regular basis? I'm not saying your mom and pop shops, your game store stuff don't have players on that level, but do you think being able to compete against people worldwide can really like sharpen up your skills or how you play?
100%. I think it's the biggest pull to play Magic Online is when every time you play, you could be against a grinder or a professional player, or
Mm-hmm.
so. I 100% think it's one of the biggest pulls for sure.
Are you going for like a giant weather the storm here? Because that's not going to be good for me. Um, oh no, you killed my Glaze Fiend, and you had the weather.
So yeah, that's yeah. I do think it is. It's the biggest pull. Like it's definitely improved for me in terms of like how I play Magic and how I brew decks and things like that. Has
Mm-hmm.
definitely increased by just the caliber of people that I verse on a daily basis.
Yeah. Do you think there's more like validity playing like through leagues for that like level of skill, or do you think like for me like I don't want I'm at the point where I want to build my card collection, so I don't really want to put
Mhm.
like a lot of money into leagues. And also like one thing that I've really been having fun with is running these brews and stuff. I've not played one
Yeah.
deck super consistently to really be like
Mm.
I'm going to run this and stuff. Do you think those leagues can put you into that next level, or do you think like if someone's just wanting to like casually play, the TPQs can still help keep your skills pretty sharpened?
Yeah, I think like the tournament practice. So whenever I brew a deck, I generally take it through a tournament practice for a couple of days, if not a week.
Mm-hmm.
Just test it out, see what I feel. But I generally use it to see more how my deck works, like if it's operating right, if that makes sense, or if I'm making mistakes while playing it.
Yeah.
Um, just I do think you can obviously
Oop,
everyone's
gotta
entitled or
brew
does
this.
however they want to play Magic.
Yeah.
So, and I think tournament practice is still a perfect way of playing Magic. Like it's no different than anything else, if that makes sense. So, uh,
That makes sense. It's sometimes like you hear people. It's like tournament practice cues. Nobody takes it serious and stuff, and then but it's like it's free. That's the
yeah.
important part. It's
Oh yeah.
free. So
Where do I? This clock's gonna get big pretty quickly. This 38 will be down to zero very, very quickly.
I thought the plan is, but not
So
everything
yeah,
goes to plan.
I think tournament practice is fine. Like, don't get me wrong. I think to me the only issue I have with tournament practice personally is you when you queue up in tournament practice, the chance of you versing a deck you want to verse is a lot less than what you
Mm-hmm.
would normally. So obviously, when I'm building a deck, I want to build the deck in against the meta, like how it does against mono red, or how it does against affinity, or how it does against gardens. And for that, I think the amount of times you probably like I verse those decks are few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my only personal reason why I prefer. I just throw player points at it and just see how it runs, if that makes sense. Because most of the time, whenever I record my first league, I'll be lucky if I 1-4 or 2-3,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a waste of. But it's because I feel like I want to test that against the field. That's why I do that.
I get you. Because like Magic Online, you can kind of get to a point where if you're consistently like you could grind out like a tier deck that you're pretty like good with and kind of grind and build up your player points to where you
Hmm.
can run these leagues without really
Hmm.
losing out on it stuff, which I think is a really cool aspect. I mean, I'm not gotten to that point to
Hmm.
try that, but I think it's a cool aspect that you could do that. um
Yeah.
when you do your leagues though, like your videos and stuff for your leagues, like one, like how are you doing your deck selections for that? But then two is, are there sometimes you're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna make this video, and then you run through a league and you're like, I didn't like that video. Like, how often are you leaving stuff like cut? Are you like re-recording stuff?
More than I'd like to admit. There's definitely a lot of times where I record a league and I think the deck's, it's got legs, and it just sometimes though my decks, they don't do well, but they feel so fun to play that I do end up just sending them out there as 2-3s or 1-5s or 1-5s, 1-4s. Like literally, sometimes the deck's just that fun that it's like I want this out there. But there is a lot of times where I'm like, oh, this deck's actually not that far between this deck, and I've just went 1-4 or 2-3. Like it's not. I'm not happy with it, or maybe I seriously messed up with how I played that, and I'm just not happy with it. So it happens more than that get with me, I guess.
You get that kind of like figuring out like what you want to show and stuff. Trying to figure out.
Click, click, click.
I don't think I want to make it through this, especially with Moment's Peace in the grave.
Click, click, click. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3.
Do you ever feel, because where we have Magic Online has like the chess clock, do you ever feel like the chess clock really is like, especially playing a deck like you're playing, like how often are you like against the clock, and how often do you see people trying to play the clock?
The decks I generally play, I would say it happens less than what I used to play, stuff like Blue White Evoke and like Blue White Reanimator and things like that, like which were a lot slower though, like Archaeomancer Ephemerate decks. Yeah, it happened a lot more than like loads more. Like people used to try and time you out and things like that, and it's an aspect of the game on Magic Online, but it isn't a fun way of doing it. I touched on this like last week with Callie or Jaden Rakin about, because he plays a lot of click intensive decks like Familiars and Ultron, significantly more than I do. And it's how I feel like things like Bonding Weather the Storm against Ultron, like that's not really a strategy that you would realistically adopt in paper, but you adopt it more on Magic Online because it's an actual thing you can do, unfortunately. And it's just one of them things that just you gotta play around it and play differently, and
How
definitely
much
be conscious of the clock.
Right. How much do you think the meta for Magic Online influences the paper meta and vice versa?
I think I would generally say that the paper meta is generally in all formats is generally behind in paper. I just think it takes a lot longer because obviously if you think for example, how fast Magic Online changed. How fast, let's say, for example, when Arena first came out, how fast Standard evolved and got solved whenever a new set came out compared to paper it's just obvious. You get to play the card game 24 hours a day. It's all obviously going to adapt a lot quicker, or new tech cards are going to come out a lot quicker on Magic Online than they are in paper. Like when you play once a week or a whole weekend, it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna be behind naturally. I feel so. But I do think it definitely influences it. But I also think they are slightly different because, like, you have especially in Pauper, significantly. I think a lot more, and maybe Legacy as well to an extent. I think the chess clock is a real issue for a lot of people. Like, I personally wouldn't pick up Ultratron Online because I wouldn't trust myself with it. I don't think I'd be able to play it fast enough. But I'd play it in paper because the loops are okay. I'm infinite now.
That was actually one of the first times I played Black Gardens. I actually went to time on it.
Whoa, what's this?
Great Sword of Tyr.
Ooh.
It's been pretty solid. Like, most of the time, I feel like if I get this card out and I can get it on like a Mandible or a Glaze Fiend, it closes out the game pretty quick, and it's pretty good about keeping like your opponent's creatures from blocking too. But when I was running one copy of it, like I drew it all the time, but now that I'm running 4, I rarely ever see it. So I'm glad to actually see it for once.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. I really like this deck. So how's the blue cards been? Because my
Um,
original idea was like a black-white list, so
mhm.
it's quite interesting to see the Esper style to it. So
The blue is literally only here pretty much for it's pretty much only here for okay. I was like, it said no legal targets. I'm like, it still gets +1/+1, right? It's pretty much only here for Thoughtcast because Thoughtcast is just where you need
pretty
to be
nuts
with
and
this card, with this
yeah.
deck. So
Uh-huh.
that's pretty much all that is really going on with the blue. But we're also using the blue in the sideboard for like Hydroblast, and we're also running Veldkin Outlander for the burn matchup. It's a 2/2 artifact that has protection from red.
All right. Okay.
That has been pretty solid against that matchup. You could probably definitely go down to the white black, but then you also lose access to some artifact lands.
Mhm.
And this version of the deck is a very greedy mana base where it's literally just nothing but artifact lands. Like there's no basics, no nothing,
Yeah, yeah.
which is sketch, but we're trying to wombo combo here, so a little bit.
To be fair,
So
I was playing Jeskai Affinity for quite a while, and it
hmm
was basically it's kind of like the Core Sky Fishery Mardu synthesizer engine with experimental synthesizer and Core Sky Fisher,
hmm
and then it uses the blue cards like Kenku and Darkcast to draw. Oh damn! I'm gonna die really quickly here.
that's what the game plan
Uh
is.
oh. Mm-hmm. 6, 7, 8.
That's the thing too, is like this great sword, like there was like some games it's like gotten cards up to like 8 or 9 power
Mm-hmm.
just because you just have that great sword and you just keep tapping down their critters, and it grows pretty quick. Like it's surprisingly how quickly it grows.
Mm-hmm. No cards in hand.
Yeah, I'm emptied out.
I guess we stop there. And then here.
Bummer.
Yes. We're at 11. Do I want to take 4? Not particularly. 5. Oh, damn. I guess. Um, I don't really want to do that on an Ornithopter, but here we are.
Pretty good. And you got the weather on top of that.
Yeah, I burnt a prism though. Oh. Oof.
Should have held
Oh,
on to
thank
that
God you.
land instead of playing that land. That way, if I drew a Mandible or a Glaze Fiend, because I do feel like this deck like sometimes has like you different play lines. Like you want to hold on to stuff, maybe not
Oh,
play it out,
yeah.
but
Sure. Oh, I can turn that stuff off now.
um. So like when you're like brewing and or playing brews and stuff, how much are you brewing as opposed to just like finding some really cool spicy lists?
Um, I'd say less so now than what I used to. I used to
Mm-hmm.
try and make pretty much the entire list myself. But yeah, I think less so now with obviously just time management more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of put down a bit. So I try and I feel like lately I kind of end up tuning lists more than brewing them from scratch myself. So I do have like certain ideas that I kind of change. So like my latest article, I kind of went in on I think with the addition of Lembas, the new food token thing from Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that maybe Gardens can adopt like a familiars cauldron familiar strategy because the card shuffles back in, so you can kind of use that to like loop and things like that. So I think there's things like that I'll try and brew myself. But overall, generally, I don't really have the full time to do it, but I try and do as much as possible for sure.
Gotcha. Do you so you don't stream, do you?
No.
Have you ever thought about it, or are you just cool with making the videos?
I have thought about it. I don't think personally my PC will handle it. But I have thought I'm not against it. I also just like the idea of I get to record my video and then I still get to communicate to my like community and all that sort of stuff
Mm-hmm.
outside of it. But it's just kind of like it's in my own time, if that makes sense. More than it's just I think with the way my life is at the moment, I don't really have that dedicated. Here's a time slot stream, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And that's really the main thing stopping me is that I really do like the idea of streaming. I just think, yeah, I don't really have that dedicated time slot to do so.
I get you on that one. Sure, it's definitely like a commitment. It's a whole different animal too than
Yeah.
the video editing aspect. Where
Oh, for sure.
if you want to just do a video, it's like, oh, I got time, I can make the video now, and then
Yeah.
it's easier to keep a schedule with video making
Hmm.
as opposed to streaming. Um, yeah, because like Magic just seems like such a good streaming game, like
Hmm.
in a way.
Oh.
So I've always been curious to like when you come across like content creators who's like I want to take the video making approach, or like someone that go in like the heavy editing where they will run through a league in 10 minutes. It's like
Yeah.
why, like what makes you decide to go down that route? Um, as for like content creation and stuff, like have you like is Matt? My goodness, these anoints, you're killing me, Smalls. Um, with like content creation and stuff, have you had like any other like interest in content creation outside of Magic or Snap, I guess, like outside of like gaming, or is like Magic was kind of the aha moment for content creation?
Magic's always been the original aha moment,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. It always will be my main focus, I think. And I can't see that ever changing. The game's just like it means so much in general. Like it's obviously brought me all my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've grew up with it. It'll never really change. So I think it'll always be Magic solely. But as you can tell with the Snap channel, that I have thought about branching out. And that will probably happen again. Like for sure, I'll find something else that piques my interest. And Snap's definitely still there. Hearthstone's still there. I still play out a lot of these games casually,
Mm-hmm.
so I can definitely see me going into other things. And I do at the moment. The thing that's piquing my interest is branching out the different types of content that I do for Pauper. That's one of my big things I want to push. I want to push any sort of content in life. I've asked any like that's why I'm happy. Obviously, do this for you. I was obviously honoured to be here. I was honoured that um, Callie wanted to do the podcast with us. So like, it's just because it's just a community. Pauper
Mm-hmm.
in general is just an amazing community, and I've never found a place that's toxic. I've never found a place that's not helpful. And it's just an amazing. Like I just think Pauper as a whole and Magic less so, but mainly Pauper is such a great community, and I feel like I owe it to it to kind of branch out just solely in Pauper at the moment. So it's probably not far off the future, but at the moment, Pauper is my main goal
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm really bad about like when it comes to this goes across the board when it comes to music and everything like that. It's like I find a handful of artists that I like, and then I'm
Mhm.
like, this is my little corner, and I'm happy with this, right? But I with the community that I'm trying to like grow and stuff, I've had a lot of people suggest some really awesome channels. I just thought it was funny
Mhm.
is like literally like the day somebody in chat was like suggesting your channel, you commented on one of my videos, and I was just like, weird how that pops out. And then I like
Yeah,
checked
for
out your
sure.
channel, and then I was like, oh man, there's like some awesome stuff here. So it's cool to like find these like different content creators, different communities and stuff. And like what do you want like what do you want to kind of do with your channel, like where like what point are you wanting to get at? Because now you're writing articles, What's the website you're writing articles again? It's Cardstream. Is that
Cards
it?
Realm.
Cards Realm. I was only a couple letters off. Um, so Cards Realm, like, what are you like? What point are you wanting to get at? What are you trying to build toward?
Um, Unsure. At the moment, I'm just happy where I'm at. If you know what I mean, I'm happy to just grow constantly with all sorts of different content.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to grow my community. Really, is the best way, and just like not even like my actual closest community. If you know what I mean, like not like the people that watch my videos, the people that comment. Like, I just want to make this positive, or be a part of this positive environment and make sure it stays that way. Like, I would like to, be a part of that and help it grow in whatever way, because pop is such a great format anyways, and then also the community is that great, so why not just help that grow?
Mm-hmm.
um so that's mainly my focus, is um just keep trying different kinds of content. Like, they were the three that sprung to mind. I wanted to always get into writing. Obviously videos was a great way for me to build my confidence, and then podcasting is just a great, I always find podcasting a really easy way of um eating up content and time is just a
Mm-hmm.
great way. So they're the three that I definitely wanted to get into. So uh, I've also just realized I've played the same deck. I didn't mean to. I
Oh no,
do
you're good.
apologize.
Although I think you have 100% win rate against what I'm doing. just say it like Torex. This is like the worst deck I think for Torex to play against.
To do this, and then this. Woo! Too many cards.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah, I don't know what's next. I don't like. I think it goes hand in hand. Those last two questions, like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it goes to a different type of content, like a different game completely, or if it goes into just expanding my type of content. That, like shorts, for example. I've definitely seen a lot more of your shorts lately, and like that sort of thing was one thing that I was really interested in getting into. But it's the type of, like, what do I want to produce? Like, I've seen a lot of them being for yourself, being like stream highlights and things, and
Mm-hmm.
like great moments, which is a great way to, obviously, for people that can't watch the entire stream, to showcase different highlights. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of different types of content that I may want to get into, but I just don't know where that is yet.
I'll say, yeah. Do you ever think about, like, obviously you venture out a little bit with Snap, but like just venturing outside of Magic content in general?
Uh, I have. Like, I tried it with Snap. I've tested the waters with something completely different, and I tried to make like Fortnite videos. I tried to record, but again, my
Mm.
PC couldn't handle it. Um, so I've tried lots of different things, but I keep coming back. As you can tell by the Snap channel, unfortunately, it's there with like two videos, and I haven't focused on it in a while. And it's just, so I've definitely tried it. It just, yeah, can't seem to get anything else to stick at the moment. Uh, so yeah,
So
it's
so outside of Magic though, like what are some of your interests? You talk about like Fortnite and some other TCGs and stuff. Like what are some other things that you're kind of into outside of Magic?
yeah. So the main one is, I would say, Fortnite is one of my biggest. It's very much a thing that my friends, like Reese and my wife, play. We just play Fortnite
Mm-hmm.
quite a lot, so it's quite a good, like, thing that we do together. Um, I But other than that, I don't really have much. I like watching TV, obviously, like most people. I'm fairly laid back and chill, to be honest. Just we're quite lucky with, obviously, a lot of lakes and fells around us. So when the weather's nice, taking Luna around for walks and things like that. I don't really have too many interests that way. I kind of listen to music casually. I don't really have any sort of peak interest in music, like, overall. Or so yeah, I dabble. I'd say I'm a dabbler. I dabble in a lot of things, but I don't really have much of an interest, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think I might die.
Say Fortnite, I like quite a bit too. I don't like stream it, or I have before, but I don't really like do a lot with Fortnite other than it's just something like me and my cousin play pretty casually.
Hmm.
And now we're starting to get a little bit also into Rocket League because his 4-year-old picked up
Yeah.
on Fortnite, and so now he's like,
Yeah.
I got to find something else to play. I'm playing Fortnite like all the time. Um, but yeah, Fortnite's pretty awesome. I still like Fortnite as like a battle royale game. I like it better now. There's an option to play with no builds.
Yeah, and that's a big pull, and it's a great thing for the game. I think
Hmm.
overall, I don't know why I didn't play it first. Um, yeah, it is. It's just generally a great thing. Obviously, having access to no builds for people that just play it casually and can't keep up with the skill gap of builds. Like
Hmm.
I literally just got lost in it. So zero builds is definitely a great way to play the game for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, I like it quite a bit. The zero build aspect. I'm like, this is pretty cool because I could just I don't know if I don't have the dexterity, but I could never get into the building aspect. Like I just got ran over every time with it. I'm gonna dump some critters, but I think I'm probably dead next turn. We fought the good fight.
don't,
Um,
don't be so sure.
I don't know.
Let's try. Let's see. Let's see.
You
Um,
only need one.
I guess we do this.
Got a wither again.
And then a weather.
Double wither.
Okay. And then let's hope for the best. I haven't even counted it. It might be enough. It might not be enough.
Nah, I don't have 24 on board. 2, 6, 13. No, I have 20. No, not 20. I have 18 power on board. Unless I top deck my other Gloomfang Mauler, but even then. What does that do though? Finally found the tortured.
I really like Tortured Existence. I think the Necromass definitely helped it
Oh yeah, definitely.
for sure. Um, I think it's big. My thing is, like, I always find whenever I play Tortured Existence, it relies so heavily to me, I feel, unless this is just I haven't played it that much, that it feels like it really needs Tortured Existence to obviously start doing its thing.
Yeah, with Urborg Repossession and Eerie Soul Tender, it's definitely a little bit better of not
Yeah.
being okay. We have to have Tortured Existence or we lose.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely very very leaning toward still kind of needing those cards. So
Hmm.
you still kind of need Tortured Existence for the deck to really run humdrum, but this is a matchup where yeah, we're not fast enough normally to get underneath the feet of adding the counters because this is
Hmm.
just you want to grind out until your Necromass and your Gloomfangs overflow the board.
Hmm.
But yeah, against this, 'cause I'm assuming we're dead here. Oh, pin
We'll
tab broken.
try. I guess we go this. Did we find one? Did we find one? Eh, we did.
All right.
Very close though, to be fair.
Yeah, it was a pretty close game. Closer than I thought it was going to be. Hmm. Like, do I have anything super duper good in the sideboard for this? I don't feel like I do.
Feels weird me not being on the like just can see my gameplay side of things.
Yeah.
I'm usually obviously used to this is why I'm bringing this in, this is why I'm bringing this in, or
Yeah, I
this
know.
out, all that sort of stuff.
That's why, yeah,
It's
sometimes
just
it's
nice
like,
to
yeah, you got that game community of like trying to figure out like why you're playing what you're playing and stuff.
Mm.
Do you ever feel like sometimes, though, it's hard to fight the dead air, like when you're doing these when you're doing your videos and streams and not streams, but like your videos and stuff when you're playing through these leagues, like to like, do you ever feel like you're conscious of like dead air of like I need to say something or something needs to be said?
Yes, very much so. It is definitely 100%. Like it's a thing that you've got to think about as well. Like a lot of the time, so it can be quite difficult. One thing that it's definitely helped me is when thinking about it is thinking about your audience and the fact that I always imagine that I'm talking about uh, to a person that's like getting into Magic but doesn't know any combo, any interaction. So I
Mm-hmm.
try and obviously over explain what's happening, and that's the best way I've been to fight like dead air as much as possible. Like don't worry, you're still going to get it because you know it could take time for your opponents to react or what have you. So definitely is a thing
I feel
for
like
sure.
the commentary side of things is pretty like important because for me, like I actually kind of consume quite a bit of the content while I'm at work. So like
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm trying to potentially um like consume while I'm at work, and so I have my headphones in. I can't really like pay attention to the video. So when you have like propaganda is really good about it. You're really good about it. When you have that, Satan Rakin's obviously good about it. So when you have that good like commentary, it's like I can just visualize what's happening in the game. I don't really need to
Mm-hmm.
like watch the video. Like I always think that's like a really like strong aspect for a Magic content creator to have. And so
For
that's what
sure.
it's like, yeah, like how conscious are you of that dead air and stuff of really kind of
Apologies for
filling
the
the
noise.
space.
Ambulance going past.
I couldn't hear it at all. Um,
Uh, but yeah, I agree, and thank you for that. That is obviously one thing that I do try and take on board is that exact thing. You don't really want someone to not understand your videos,
mm-hmm.
for sure. So Tortex doing its work.
It's trying to. Kitchen Imp is normally a pretty good card, but I don't know how good it is in the face of Weather the Storm.
Da, 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 da. We've got the stuffs going on. The double prism. Oh,
Let me do this. Do you like with your other friends and stuff that you play Magic and stuff with? Have they ever like been interested in like making content?
a few have obviously. Reese's obviously helped me with my content.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm assuming it may be on the cards for him to obviously make his own somewhere down the line. I've had a couple of friends that have like made content specifically for introdu- introducing um introducing people to our club. So like what we do, all that sort of stuff and things like that. So we've had one that's kind of made content that way, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
really it's mainly for like other games like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And things. So I guess we go. But there have some of them have been interested, and I wouldn't be surprised if obviously others got more interested for sure. Because definitely, I'd like to think that they say that I love to do it, and it's really great fun to do, obviously for me. So hopefully, they see the same and see the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
Unsure what they would get into personally. Like a lot of us have very different interests in formats. So some of us are really big into modern, some of us are really big into legacy. So, but I definitely don't think it's out of the question for sure.
Let's say that's like yeah, like in terms of like content creation, like I have probably only one friend that's really that interested in it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not with like game or magic related. He's more like movie oriented, but like
Oh, yeah, okay.
yeah, it's just like I don't know if like how like other friends like when you're making that content and stuff of like they're supportive and watch it and stuff, but also like are you the weird one by like you know what I mean, trying to like cram out videos and everything like that.
My wife would think so. That's for sure.
um I think I'm probably way too slow. No.
Yeah, I have a Vivid Surgeons in hand as well.
Oh, do you? All right. I'm gonna scoop it up there. Yeah, a little bit too slow. I think.
Apologies.
No, you're
Apologies. I
good.
didn't mean to.
Want to do one more?
Sure.
Let me see what I want to play here. Um. Yeah, it's like there's like so many decks over here. I'm like, what do I want to play? uh. I'll try this list out. Never played this list. We'll see how this runs. It seems cool though.
But this is, the deck I've chose is probably a bad choice because it's one that I generally have to think about.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how I want to sequence things. And it's like, when I'm not really paying full attention, it's probably going to end badly.
Yeah, there's been a few times where it was like I've been doing the interviews and I pick a deck and then I'm like, note to self, don't play that deck again because can't pay attention enough. Um, yeah, I'll keep this. Pass.
Hmm.
Ooh, a
Three
Thursday
of
maybe.
Tails. Not one you see very often, for sure.
Yeah, I've never played this deck, so I don't know how well this is gonna run, but we're gonna give it a go.
Gardens, good traitors.
Yeah. What does this card do?
Always a good solid start.
Right. Golden egg. Hmm.
Classic. Oh. Oh. Carapace Forge, right?
Yeah, this card I didn't know existed until I saw this list and I was like, ooh, I like that. I played against this really wicked Boros artifact deck the other day that was running basically like tribal this metalcraft effect. And it was pretty like brutal. It was pretty sweet.
Oh, with
Gal
there's a
Blast.
the one with the one that gains plus two, and then
Yeah.
there's the one that gains plus two and flying as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And I was like, this is a pretty sweet list. Um
Mhm.
I can't remember what I played against them. I think I was playing the blue sack deck. I think is what I was
Mhm.
playing.
Another one.
Another one. But when it comes to like the pauper community and stuff, like
Mhm.
we have like some big names and stuff that are in the community playing the format stuff. Do you ever kind of wish? Because I keep asking everybody this, and it's because I wish this would happen. But we have like Paupergeddon and stuff. But like, do you ever wish like we had like another Gal Blast? Do you kind of wish that, like we had like another big tournament, like especially like in terms of like being like televised through like Twitch or streaming or something, like how they used to do like the Pro
Yeah.
Tours and the GPs.
Oh, for sure. I think it would be the great. I actually think it'd be great to have a pop again. Um, your side of the pond for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
think Pauper at that size isn't really there in America, like for some reason.
It
But
definitely doesn't feel
Italians
like it.
definitely do it best. Italians definitely do it best. They know the stuff, and yeah, for sure. Tyson and I think is it Blitzer, all them sort of teams like they do it absolute wonders for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I can't say for like other parts of America or anything like that, but like in my area, Pauper is like the one that would make sense
Mm.
to be like super popular because kind of live in a lower income area, but it's like it's either commander or modern. It's like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that standard was okay for a little while, but yeah, it's pretty much like modern or commander. That's all. That's been like the thriving force of Magic in my area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it'd be cool. It would be really cool if they could put something together. I know Sade and Raken talked about trying to do some kind of like building some kind of like East Coast scene or something like that. So that would be really cool if he can get that. He doesn't seem god awful far away from me to like if he would get something together, like it might be worth trying to venture up to go to. But I would love to see I would love to see a return of Magic to the force that it was when I was really diving into Magic. So I would love to see, the big streaming GPs and the big streaming
Mm-hmm.
Star
Oh, for
Cities
sure.
and Pro Tour and everything like that. I would love for that to come back.
Oh, for sure. I think that's that's like when I was growing up on Magic. You had obviously the open circuit and everything, so that sort of scene would be great.
Hmm.
It's definitely something that feels missed, and Pauper would, as you say, makes sense. It's an easy, accessible format. It's great for a viewer experience because there's very few. You're not going to get to the point where you're on camera at the round 8 or round 9 of the last round of the event or whatever, and you're not going to be like, oh, he multi-4, we're out, the game's over. That won't happen as much. I don't think it'll be definitely. Uh-oh.
Trying, trying to find stuff here. You've been very good about picking apart what I've got going on here.
Stuck on lands. That's my problem. Casting one spell a turn is not it at the moment.
Yeah, it's not really what Affinity tries to do that much.
Hey. So, uh,
I didn't realize I'm already down to 8. Holy smokes.
yeah, Marin Forcer Beats definitely does that too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Pretty good.
Dakenku. Let's hope you have no removal. Let's go. Yes. No. No.
Oof. My goodness. I think I have
Blackade.
all the lands out of my deck here. Yeah. Look at this hand.
Damn.
I gotta make sure my Moto premium is paid for this month. Bring these in.
Bring this in. And kind of go from there.
It's a weird matchup because I feel like almost everything I have is pretty solid in a way.
Oh,
So I'm like probably not the best at sideboarding. What are some tips you have for sideboarding? Because you have the over sideboarding problem, you have the cutting too much of your engine out or something like that. So what's kind of your advice for sideboarding here?
My advice is don't listen to me because my sideboarding strategies are generally the same. Most of the time I overboard and then go, oh, I've overboarded, and then I end up cutting it back, and then I'm like, oh, I've took out the wrong cards or too much engine. I sideboard too quickly is one of my big problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I like afterwards I realized, oh, I have this I don't know. I've left Spin and Darkness in against Mono Black Devotion, for example. That sort of level of, read the card, explains the card, and all that sort of stuff. But I think my general tips is just try and take it slow. Obviously, think about what you're trying to do, like what your game plan's going to be. So, for example, if you are playing a Dust to Dust deck, is your game plan going to be Dust to Dust out Affinity so that you have the time to carry out your game plan, or is it going to be, are you going to go over them, under them, like making sure you've got that right game plan in mind. Yeah, that is my general advice, and then you can kind of go from there. Try and make sure you've got a sideboard plan for like the decks you're weak against as well is another big one for sure.
Yeah, how much like when you're building a sideboard, because like as a dredge player, half your sideboard is protecting your game plan. So like how much like do you think with sideboarding should you be paying attention to like fighting the meta versus all right, I need to protect my game plan when they sideboard in all their hate for me?
I think ultimately it depends on the deck. So for example, like a deck like this is just Guy Finney deck. I would consider still a lot of it's like protecting your game plan a bit more, because you have the reason is because you as a deck are a lot weaker because you get hated out by sideboard cards that other people have. For example, like, I'm playing just Guy Affinity, not the normal Affinity, but I am also weaker to Dust because I don't have the Deadly Disputes and the Reckoner's Bargains to outdraw those effects. So naturally, I'm going to be weaker.
The last league I ran, I went 0-5 with Grixis Affinity, and it just felt like every game there was so much hate for everything I was doing on. I just got completely like blown apart every game. It was so rough. It was like, man, a lot of people do not want to play against this game and this deck anymore.
It is a strange one because Affinity is like quite rare in leagues. I would say overall, like don't only see it a couple of times, maybe in like 3 leagues, I'd probably verse it once or twice. So it's not as popular, but people just don't want to lose against that deck. And I don't know if that's a case of people just, here's a deck that did well, I'm going to play it, and they've took it from a challenge or whatever, and it's naturally obviously got all this hate for it. Or if it's, do you know what I mean? I don't really know why it's got a lot of sideboard hate, because it doesn't justify the amount of sideboard hate it has.
Yeah, I definitely was like, I was kind of like surprised. Like, I think there was one matchup that was running like there were like 8 copies of just like hate for the deck, and I was just like, ooh, it's been brutal.
Yeah, like there was a point like pre Ren's Resolve, I'd say, where Affinity was pretty big, and I could understand people having 4 Dusters, 4 Revoke Existence. Like I could understand that completely. But the amount of sideboard hate is just obscene nowadays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I guess we do this. Oh, something good. Oh.
That's pretty good though. You got the double, yep.
This I probably tapped wrong for this. Wop wop.
I always feel like with Synthesizer, I screw up the sequencing on that card so bad. Because I feel like I never get right, like, how I should, like, like, how or when I should play it out. That's a pretty good little combo.
It's a weird one for this deck as well, because you want to kind of keep it quite late, because a lot of your cards are quite expensive. No. Yeah, I really like Synthesizer and the Skyfishery, Glint Hockey engines.
Yeah, Skyfisher is awesome. Like, I just like that card a lot. Obviously, Glint Hawk's really cool too.
It's fairly bad because it's not entirely free like the downside, and it's mainly used on the upside. It's quite good for like deck building decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I find.
Ooh, Kinku. That's a
Thank
rough one.
you.
Kinku Artificer is an awesome card. I need to get more copies of it, but it's like one of the more expensive pauper cards right now.
Yeah, for sure. I did. I was quite surprised. I didn't realize because I picked mine quite early, and they were quite. I think I begrudgingly paid. I think 3, 4 tickets or something for it, and then it's like now I'm seeing it's like 10 tickets or something now, isn't it? Last time I checked.
I think so. It's kind of pricey, yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah, I think Popper's in a pretty cool spot. Like there is enough room to brew, but a lot of the brewing is very similar. Like I'll consider this close to a successful brew as I've made in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels very similar to what other decks are doing. It's like I've merged like Mardu or Boros synthesizer and Affinity together and kind of just, do you know what I mean? They're very, very similar in what it does to other decks.
Yeah, that's what I always feel like the brews I've been getting are trying to like shape them up into getting into place. But as long as like there's a fun core mechanic to it, like that's all that matters. Like there's one that I don't know how competitive, but we've been working with it. It's another one. It's a hijack hijinks deck where the idea is to have some kind of sack outlet and then just steal all your opponent's creatures and then sack them off. It's been pretty fun to like do that, and that's just such a. I think the win to loss ratio has been pretty rough on that one, but it's just such a satisfying thing to do is to just steal somebody else's critters. So, play my Mirror Enforcer. Let's try to draw some cards here.
Deadly Dispute, the glue to Popper's format at the moment.
Yeah, Deadly Dispute's super awesome, but I think we're too down here on the in the air. I don't think we have enough stuff to fight in the air here.
Yeah, it was the biggest pull that I want to try this because like these obviously don't get hit by the hit, these being the cost Skyfish and the Glint Hawks. So I was like really, really happy to try this because if you can get enough damage down like early with your Mirror Enforcers and stuff,
Yeah,
you kind of eventually just finish them off in the air.
I thought, yeah, you play that core Skyfisher, and I was like, man, that really makes sense, to like run in this deck. I'm like 99% sure we're dead. Um, Not that it really matters, but
Game 3.
Yeah. Well, let's gain 3.
36 from 4, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty much dead to makeshift munitions. Almost.
At
I'm
the point
definitely
where I
dead
can't
in the air.
F6.
All right. Yep, I'm dead in the air. GG's. Good games, man.
GG's indeed.
Good games.
Thank you.
If you want to say something to anybody listening, first off, where can they find you? And also, what is something that you would want to say, just like as a closing statement, if you will?
So obviously, people can find me on Twitter for @TeasdaleMTG. I'm pretty active on there. Respond to pretty much anyone who comments to me or what have you. They can find me in the Familiars Discord or the COC Discord. Obviously, you can just tag me there. Happy to respond to any questions. Obviously, you can find me on my YouTube channel. I'm pretty responsive on there too. And I think that's pretty much any way you can find us. I'm fairly active on all these. My wife says I'm glued to my phone, so she'll,
I get that too.
so definitely, I'll definitely respond. And my closing comments are, I guess, thank you for having me. It's obviously the great one because
thank you for doing it.
Great honor, and a great opportunity. And should definitely check out all of anything to do with Pauper. Check out everyone's content. I can't name anyone because there's that many and they're all great. So it's just a great community to be part of, and yeah, it's an honor for people who decide to watch this video and get so far to actually, that people who watch these videos that I'm a part of, like I'm absolutely humble and a great opportunity overall. I can't thank you all enough for the support that I've got. It's overwhelming.
Well said. Thank you so much for doing this. I super appreciate sitting down and hanging out with you, playing some games. So I super appreciate it. And I think we can close on that. I just want to say thank you again to TeasdaleMTG for doing this interview. He makes great content, and his Casting Commons Pauper podcast, the Pauper podcast, is great, especially if you want to see kind of what the trends in the Pauper format currently are. Definitely check that out. All of his links will be in the description down below. If you want to support my channel, all my links will be in the description down below as well. Thank you again, TeasdaleMTG, and thank you for tuning in to this interview. Bye. Peace.